What is up, everybody? I'm Courtney. Fashionably late as usual, y'all. Sean, where are you? He's coming. Okay. He's slow, for those who don't know. But anyway, I'm going to wait a couple minutes. I'm going to let a few people tune in. We have a really special show for you guys. And if I sound off, I apologize. So there's this crud going around, and I like to think I'm invincible, and it turns out I'm not. So here I am, joining you fine people with a fever at home, sick. But it's okay. I got antibiotics today, went to the doctor. They fixed me on up. Can't hold a good person down. But I sound like Lois Griffin for real tonight, you guys. Sean likes to tell me that's how I sound.
Sound like her anyway.
But sir, we're waiting on you, sir. Sir. Lord. Hey, Emily. I'm assuming it's Emily because it's always Emily. But we got a few people in here. Tonight we have some special guests for you. A lot of you guys have heard about the infamous cabin on the 360. Okay. That is one of Central Virginia's most haunted locations. And tonight we are welcoming to our show Ryan Jones, which a lot of you know as the face of the cabin. And we lost the other one. But the new and improved face of the cabin, I guess you could say, is Dennis Eslock. I'm going to bring Ryan on. I don't know where Dennis went. He kind of was like fixing his hair and then disappeared.
I know. You know how he is with his hair. You know, he's got to look good.
That's right. You know, yours looks like you just stepped out of the salon.
Shit. It's like I just got out of bed, actually. Hang on. They cut me off. They fixed my hair real quick. I got to go.
Here he is.
There he is.
Infamous, the one, the only. Everybody thinks he's an asshole and he owns it and wears it proudly. Dennis Eslock.
Looking good, brother.
That's right. I told everybody, yes. Why does he have a miniature hand, Sean? I'm so upset right now.
You've been wanting one forever.
So I found out that you can get these like finger hands off of Amazon. Oh, look, he's got a black hand.
There we go.
That's the pimp hand.
Those were sent to me as compliments of Jerry and David Flowers.
Nice.
I thought
I'm going to try not to choke to death on the show.
Yeah, don't do that.
Lord. I got me some tea. I feel like you now, Ryan. I got some tea.
Hey.
Ryan's beard's getting fluffier and fluffier.
It looks real
Santa Claus
soft.
beard.
Yeah, it looks real soft.
It is. It's very soft.
So, I know we, just so everybody knows, we do have kind of a short show tonight. As most of you guys know, Ryan jumps on at 9 and hosts the frickin' awesome paranormal show. So we are going to, I'm going to turn it straight over to you, Ryan, actually, first to start out, because you were the main face of the cabin for the long haul. And then some unfortunate events happened, but it's okay. Dennis stepped in and now you guys are teamed up. And I think that's even more cool.
Well, to be fair, Dennis did a lot of the work as far as, you know, promoting it and meeting teams out there. My family owns the property. Yeah.
Oh, man.
For the most part, when people thought of the cabin, they thought of Dennis because he was the one who gives the history of the location. He has everything completely memorized, and so it was definitely more like 60-40.
Okay.
Dennis being the face of the property, you know, and I would come in and do tours and stuff like that. But I've got to give all the credit in the world to Dennis about, and you know, how he handled everything when we were awesome. Through that.
So Dennis Eslock, for those of you that haven't had the pleasure of meeting him, is now the proud owner of the cabin on the 360. Dennis, tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about the cabin for those that haven't been out there before. I love the location. We've been out there several times, but for all those that are listening, can you give us some back history on the
Sure.
location? Hi, John. Welcome, Fredericksburg
Sully.
Paranormal.
Hey, Lost Souls. So it's a log cabin and it's on Route 360 and it's haunted.
So when you say haunted,
Look, she's looking at the camera like, that's it, you asshole.
when you say haunted, you've got to be
So-
able to back that.
Oh, I can back it, and I think you guys can vouch for this.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it sits on 7.2 acres total. It's all battlefield from the battles of Bethesda Church. Within close proximity to the property, I can account for 2,200 plus that were killed or wounded. There's more than a handful of small battles and skirmishes within like a mile and a half of us. Plus, we sit 3 miles away from Cold Harbor. For those that don't know, Cold Harbor is per capita the deadliest battle of the entire Civil War. So, you know, like Ryan said, his family owned the property, or they still do own it. However, I am on lease with it, so I get to do what we need to do. And within my hope, my prayer, my expectation is 6 to 9 months, I'll be able to have bank statements to show that it's not a losing endeavor, and I can actually get the bank to support me in purchasing. So that's our goal. You know, for those that saw my post tonight, I just lowered the rates on it. My first thought was, Christ, if I only get 4 bookings a month, I'm in deep shit. I am headed for bankruptcy. I mean, total overhead, everybody that knows me knows I don't sugarcoat anything. Total overhead is I have to have $4,000 a month just to meet the bills. So even with the lower rates, you know, I first set the rates with the intent that, okay, I can meet the bills with just 5 or 6 bookings. And I'm like, well, you know, and Ryan had this conversation the whole time that we've been running it. We want to keep it so that it's affordable to everybody. You know, we don't want, quote unquote, just the rich and the elite to be able to come in and investigate, man. We want everybody to experience what's there. So I set the rates as low as I can in hopes that the community supports the location. I get the bookings, we can pay the bills, and we keep it from going under the developer's bulldozer blade. That was Ryan and I's biggest fear. And when his dad said, hey guys, you need to clear out, I'm going to sell it, both of us were kind of devastated, man. We're like, we can't let it go. It means too damn much to too many people. You know, there are friendships that have been formed because of the existence of that location, and sadly, because of the passing, the tragic murder and death of a 12-year-old girl. There are friendships like ours I don't think we would have ever met if it hadn't been on the Cabin on 360. You know, Ryan and I were already friends prior to that, but I think there's so many of us that wouldn't have met if it hadn't been for the tragedy that took place there and the activity that's there. So the thought of losing it broke both our hearts. And I'm, you know what? I'm going to put my neck on the chopping block, and I'm going to do my damnedest to save this. So that's where we're at today. I've got, you know, over double each month that I have to pay to keep that place alive beyond what my own personal residence is.
I mean, that definitely shows that you have a passion for the location in itself, and dedication. You know, like you said, the tragedy that happened on the property, if it was to go under the bulldozer blade, at that point, what's to become of the souls that might have, say, been used to you guys coming and saying hello? Like they, you know, Melissa is the name of the young girl that was killed there in the late 70s. And, you know, I feel like, in my own personal opinion, we may be right now her only friends that come to see her on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying?
I think so. I mean,
She probably,
Every-
she probably considers us family
Yeah.
now.
yeah, I mean, every visit to the property, you know, even if I'm in a rush,
Kim?
I pop my head in her doorway and I tell her hello and I hope you're having a great day. You know, I think all of us that have investigated for a long time, and especially if you investigate the same location, you understand what I'm about to say. I had a group with us. We were doing one of our public investigations, and I've probably got 8 people in the room with me. And I asked the simple question on a voice recording, Melissa, are you with us, sweetheart? And I got a young girl's voice back, sounds like she's standing right beside me and says, I'm with you. And I played it back like 3 times to make sure I heard what I thought I heard. And I set my recorder down. I went out in the yard and bawled because that told me that, you know, this young girl is still there and she's willing to say hi. Hey, Ronnie, Sully, good grief. You've got a lot of people say hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
We've got Bedford Paranormal in the house, Ronnie Anderson and Daryl Paulette. We've got members from FPRI, Fredericksburg Paranormal. Sorry, guys. We got Kim Sage, Shonda, John. We've got James Brady in here. We've got Lois, Lost Souls. We've got Middletown Paranormal in here.
Actually, we're gonna have Lost Souls coming on the show right after this.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
There we go. And we've got Spirit-Led Paranormal Research, James Brady. Yes.
nice.
Good,
So-
good group in here.
Yeah, we've got an excellent group in here. I think almost everybody in here, and correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I think almost every one of us has investigated the cabin. If we have not, that's in the chat, we definitely need, I highly suggest that you set your team up with an investigation. As Dennis said in the beginning of this podcast, he just put a post out where he lowered the rates. I know a lot of people saw where the rates were raised. They were, you know, a lower rate for a while, but the cost
Then
of
we
upkeep,
got overhead.
at the end of the day, the cost of upkeep, overhead, things like that, we all have been affected by mortgage rate rising, rental rates rising, whatever the case may be. But you know, when you're keeping up a historical location that is not owner occupied, okay, that's a different level of upkeep for those that don't know. You know, Sean and I have another property, and you know, we'll go over there and something will go wrong, and we're like, how did it go wrong? We don't even like occupy this place. Well, that's why it goes wrong. You know what I'm saying? So the more people that we can get in there, we can help to maintain this historical location. Ronnie said that he booked in December. All right.
They are.
The Bedford
They are.
Paranormal coming down.
Bedford's coming out.
James,
They'll
I'm
be there
trying to tell
December
you.
14th.
James, get your team out there. Spirit-Led Paranormal Research. Very active location. We've investigated it several times.
Well, I'm not going to lie. So I will say that the cabin is one of the places where you hear about all the stuff that happens. You know how
Yeah,
every
there's a-
location you hear the rumors about what goes on there. And I will say that the cabin is a place that the rumors were true.
Yeah.
You know, I went there and like I'm the spirit box saying certain things that every team has gotten. I'm like, yeah, whatever. You know, when I first went there, and then when the spirit box started saying the things that people said it said, plus more, and then it said things directly pertaining to me, it was like, okay. So, you know, I will say with my experience and I'm gonna keep it real. I always do. If you've watched me on this podcast, you know I'm not gonna BS anybody. The things that I've seen, the rumors of what happened actually happened there. Even the apparitions, Dennis and I had a long conversation one night about something that I've seen. And the crazy part about it is I never spoke about it until now, publicly, really. This was a private conversation. I don't even think I told Ryan about it. It was a private conversation between Dennis and I, or the apparition that I saw there. And the place is incredible as far as activity goes.
We had a team there, not actually a team. It was just a group of 6 college kids. The gentleman that booked it, Dakota, had been there twice before. His dad had booked the location. Then Dakota reached out and wanted to book it with some of his classmates. And the one young man in the group was like, well, I'm a skeptic. You know, that typical arms across the chest. I don't believe any of this bullshit. Yeah, changed that up. Yeah. I talked to him on Sunday and he said, well, it was kind of slow up until about 1:30. And then from 1:30 to 4, it was off the chart. And then we changed areas that were in the rancher and they moved to the log cabin. And he said, man, the log cabin was just going nuts. And then we started getting things on Estes that were kind of disturbing. And we didn't feel comfortable anymore. It's like 5:30 in the morning. So we decided that was a good time to call it a night. And I said, so how's the skeptic doing? He said, the skeptic was fine until he got scratched. Now he's not a skeptic anymore.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of crap that happens there. And it's one of those, it took Ryan a year to convince me to go out there and investigate the property or even just go visit it, because my thought was, what the hell is a log cabin that's only 30 years old and a brick ranchery next door, next to the highway? What are they going to have? They don't have any history. Well, the more we research, the more we find out, yeah, it does have history. Not just the murder in the brick rancher, but you have Civil War, you have Revolutionary War, you have settlers all the way back into the 1630s that were chasing the Indians off the property, and the natives are obviously pissed. And what did the natives do to the land? Did they curse the land? Did they ask for, there's what in the Powhatan Nation, they have a elemental spirit called Pukwudgie. Did they bring one of those forward?
Did you just say Pukwudgie?
I did.
Lord Daryl, the Pukwudgies are running around at the cabin.
Shit.
Here we go.
Here we go.
We just can't explain that.
A little foggy there.
You gotta go. All right, I've learned this trick. There you go. I was gonna say you gotta go real slow. I blur my camera all the time. Them damn wedgies, Daryl. I'm trying to tell you, they're loose at the cabin.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got something of a darker nature in the basement that I don't know how to explain it. I think, in all honesty, it's an elemental spirit. But according to EVPs, it has claimed responsibility for pushing Randy, who was the older half brother. It claims credit for causing him to do what he did to his little 12-year-old half sister.
I mean,
well, let's go back to the scratching. So, I've investigated a lot of places in 20 years, and I haven't seen many physical bleeding scratches. The worst one I've seen was at the cabin with a team member. And it's funny you brought it up. That's a skeptic got scratched. We had one of our team members get scratched. I don't know if we sent the pictures to Ryan or not.
Yeah, I did.
But
we had
a team member get scratched on the neck. And, the funny part about that was when I went back and watched the tape on that, I know Ronnie doesn't believe in orbs, but there was a light that flew down to her neck right before she grabbed her neck and claimed that something had, like a bug had got her or something.
Well,
like that.
What had happened was the orb flew down, or the light anomaly flew down right behind her on this side, and you see her on camera go like this, and then she says, "I need to take a break," and we take things like that with our team very seriously. If you need a break, we're taking a break. Like, there's no why, what's wrong, any of that. We're taking a break. So we all go upstairs. We take a break. Sean actually ended up staying in the basement because he could not find his phone. And he wasn't aware that the team member that had grabbed her neck had grabbed his phone in such a hurry to leave the basement, she just grabbed everything around her and left the basement. So she went outside and James said orbs and flashlights are real, Ronnie.
Don't make me laugh tonight, please.
Anyway, she had gone outside to smoke a cigarette, and when she came back in, and it was cold. I remember it being very cold because I was in a hoodie. She was wearing a scarf, and she came in and she said, "Courtney, I think a bug bit me on my neck. Can you look?" I had to unravel her scarf from her neck and pull it down to see 3 cat-like scratches bleeding on the back of her neck. So the first thing I did, now I've got nails. The first thing I did was grab her hands. She was a gardener at the time, like professionally, like that was her day job. She was a landscaper, and she had nothing, no nails. Like they were bit down to the skin, like nothing. And I'm like, there's no way. So I tried to take my nails and like take my fingers and try to maybe line them up, and they were thinner than a human nail.
Like a cat.
It was like a cat scratch on the back of her neck.
But it was
And
3 of them.
I took a picture, and I still have the picture in my phone somewhere. I could send it to you, Dennis, if I haven't already. But, you know, at that moment, I took a picture and I showed it to her, and she turned around, she looked at me, she said, "I'm going to finish out this investigation tonight, but I'm never coming back." And she stood on that. She was not with us the remaining times that we came to the cabin. You know, now the second time we went to the cabin, I do want to touch on this because the second time we went to the cabin, that gloomy, dark, depressing, angry feeling that you get in the basement was not there. It was not there at all. As a matter of fact, we were sitting in the basement and we were joking around, making jokes, laughing. You know, I even, you know, asked, I'm like, "Hey, are you just a bully? Like, is that what's going on? Do you know who to bully and who not to bully?" You know, and I like to say a lot of the time that I believe that I'm very strong in my spirituality, and I have different beliefs, you know, in the paranormal world, and we can, you know, get into a debate in the chat later. That's fine. But I truly believe that you have to allow something like that to take over you. And I think that evil entities know who to fuck with and who not to, for lack of better words, you know? And so it's like, I don't know. And I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that I'm invincible to any of this. I didn't get that feeling the second time I went down in the basement. I did not feel like there was an evil presence. The first time, yes.
Doesn't feel that way all the time. I mean, I'll go there. I'm there every week, and sometimes you can really feel it. And other days, it's just not there.
Right.
You know, so it's not like that all the time. But, you know, it's always good to be aware of something that could happen.
Sure.
When you go to a place like that. We had Beyond the Badge Paranormal come out there last like March or February. And the guy told me when he booked the location, he was like, they thought of it as a stopover investigation between Sweet Springs and St. Albans. So like, let's go to the cabin. There's nothing here, you know. Well, how bad can it be? And it turns out to be one of their most insanely active locations they'd ever been to. And the guy was like, you know, we misjudged it. We didn't believe it could be that bad. And
Right.
It was. And they said it's one of those locations that changed their whole perspective on the paranormal. They had a couple of the members were like, we're never coming back here again. Of course, they did eventually. But if you check out their videos on YouTube, it's really amazing what they have been able to capture. And I think a lot of people, when they think about the cabin, they they don't believe it's as bad as it is until they experience it, and then it's like, okay, well, maybe it is. So always
Right.
be prepared when you go to any location like that, because
Oh, absolutely.
I will say
And-
the
it's ridiculous fast.
Oh, yeah.
I will say the cabin is one of the places where the rumors are very real.
Yeah.
That second night she's talking about was the night that I saw the apparition step up towards me in the living room. And that was also the same night where I don't know if y'all heard the EVP that was caught on my body cam when we were trying to debunk some evidence, and the little girl was singing along to a music box that doesn't sing. And
That's
it
also
was
the night that we got the
the bell.
no, the EV or the across the spirit box, the help me really
Yep, to
loud
help me, yeah.
in the little girl's voice.
But the little girl singing was very weird to me because again, that's one that none of us are little girls that can mimic that voice, and the voice was so faint in the background.
It was eerie.
That
It was very
creepy.
eerie.
Yeah, that was pretty
Creepy.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like when I first heard it, I was like, this is like horror movie level. Like,
Yeah.
like, 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? But
And we've captured a little
Ron
girl
Winter-
there
Yeah,
before.
Do what?
we've captured her singing several times
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, that's what you guys were saying when we sent over that evidence. But Ronnie said it best, I think. At the end of the day, you shouldn't take any location for granted. I always make sure that I go into a location, like Ryan said, prepared.
Well-
I think preparedness is definitely key.
I mean, I think most of us, and what stands out in my mind the most about don't take a location for granted is, I don't know what, 20 years ago when Zach and the crew were first doing Ghost Adventures, and they went to Goldfield Hotel. The brick got thrown, the 2x4 sailed across the basement. They took the place for granted. There might be a little something here or something. And next thing you know is this phenomenal piece of evidence caught on video of a brick and a 2x4 and shit flying across the room. But they took that property for granted.
Yeah.
And it proved what it could do. I've been in St. Albans Sanatorium dozens of times. I think I've probably done 50 investigations there. I never expect to not get fucked with. And, Ronnie and I have had numerous talks. The long, dark hallway there, something charged up behind me that, I've been doing this for 25 years.
Is that up in,
That
is that,
scared the shit out of me.
Ronnie, comment and let me know. Is that the same hallway that we spent the several hours in because we could not figure out why certain things were happening? The long, dark hallway?
Or 2 REM pods got their batteries
The
completely
long,
drained.
dark hallway is the one
No.
underground going
Okay,
up
he said
to
no.
alcohol recovery.
Okay, so we went down there and got nothing in that particular location. But
And I'll bet the hallway you're talking about is probably Center Hallway, main building.
Center. Yeah,
Second
Ronnie just
floor.
said that was King Center.
Yep, King Center. Yep. Center hallway, second floor, or main hallway, center, second floor. Yeah.
So now I will say around that long dark hallway that you're talking about, although we didn't get anything like hardcore concrete evidence, I did constantly feel like I was watched. Like I kept turning around, like I felt like something was behind me, but nothing was there, type deal. But I didn't catch anything on camera or anything concrete. But
So-
I mean, it goes hand in hand with the cabin, because anybody that's gone out there and investigated the woods, okay, you will hear and feel footsteps behind you, and when you turn around, nobody is there.
And it's not animal.
Yeah, it is not
Yeah.
animals. Like, Sean and I hunt, okay, so we know the difference between, well, I don't want to put concrete. We know the difference between a squirrel and a deer, because a squirrel will get any hunter, okay?
Yeah.
You get really excited and it's a damn chipmunk, but you know the difference between human footsteps and animal footsteps. And you know, the woods is one, especially when you get into that big open clearing,
And
you
the way
feel
back.
like you're enclosed.
Yeah, and that's in the way back.
Yeah, the like right by the road over there. So both times that we went out there, you get that almost claustrophobic feeling, but you're wide open. There's 6 acres of woods around you, but you feel like you got to get out of there because there's a circle, like an imaginary circle out there that's like closing in.
I always feel like there's a big group of people with me
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah, now in the daytime, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's the
yeah.
most peaceful. I mean, well, you just pointed out that you and Sean are hunters. There's nothing more relaxing than going out in the woods.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you go out in that bitch at night, you feel like the hunted.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people will try to say that being in the woods at night will make you have that feeling. That's not true. I will say at one time, I when the sun went down, I stayed in the woods a little longer than I should have when I was trying to get my deer.
Urban exploration.
But
Yeah,
and I've
yeah.
been in plenty of woods at nighttime. But I've been in the military. We've done things in the woods at night before. But at the cabin, being in the woods at night is definitely a whole different feeling. It's we as humans, we have that fight or flight. We have the sixth sense. We know when something is wrong. And when you're in the woods at night in the cabin, something just always feels wrong.
So you know how like I want to describe it right now? Has everybody in here seen the Blair Witch Project? No?
Watches.
Oh my God. Okay. So like it's basically a documentary, and just to sum it up, it's a documentary where they go out in the woods where the Blair Witch is said to kill a bunch of people. Okay. That's literally how I felt out there. See, Kim said yes. Okay. That's how I felt out in the woods. I felt like I needed to have that like selfie view camera, and I needed to like constantly turn around and like watch behind me. Yes, Shayla, unfortunately, it is a horrible documentary. It's horrible. First of all, if you have epilepsy, do not watch it. You're going to get dizzy and you're going to throw up. It is a horrible documentary, but they're in the woods and they depict that something is constantly chasing them and they're running for their life. And now, although I've never ran out of the cabin's woods for my life, it does give you that, that like your heart starts racing, feeling like something's there that shouldn't be there.
It definitely gives you that feeling that you are being stalked.
Yes. John said, I heard footsteps in the woods. Yes. Like something was following you. That's exactly it.
But the woods doesn't necessarily feel evil, though. It doesn't feel bad.
It just feels active.
Right.
Yeah.
So part of that, I think, honestly, is, and I tell this when I do the history and the orientation there. 10th Virginia was sent on a offensive attack against the Via House. So they left right across the road from us, which was Bethesda Church, and they were going up Walnut Grove Road. Well, they made it 0.2 of a mile from our property, if even that. And there's a small swale there that used to be the tail end of Beaver Dam Creek. Well, 500 members of 10th Virginia get into this muddy underlying area and get bogged down, and 5,000 Union soldiers are coming in to attack Bethesda Church, which is a Confederate headquarters. So they just massacred them. Their blood literally flowed across the back of our property. And to this day, there is still a marshy area just to our east at the very back end of our property. It stays marshy almost year round. And if we get heavy rains, the back end of our property holds water because it was at one time the marsh.
That's that area I was talking about.
Yeah.
It's a swamp.
Yeah. And off to if you, like when you walk in off the access road and you walk straight in and you get into that big circle, if you keep walking a few hundred feet just beyond our property, it's still mostly marsh over that way.
Remember, we almost walked forward and
it goes back up. But we are the low-lying area that starts uphill from Beaver Dam Creek. Now, of course, you've got 160 years of topography change with all the new houses and all that shit to our west. But we used to be the low-lying area and the tail end of Beaver Dam Creek. And Beaver Dam Creek National Battlefield Park is 7 miles up in Mechanicsville proper. And it's a horrifically deadly battlefield. So we have some horrific history on that property.
So what's the Native American history attached to that property?
So we don't know exactly which tribes were on that part of land, but we do know that just a few miles out, 360 is Pamunkey and Mattaponi reservations. Both of them were under Chief Powhatan's rule. So they would have been part of the Powhatan Nation. Now, we know in the 1630s-ish, the settlers were moving up into that area. They started in 1611 down in Henricus Park down in Chesterfield. And as more and more Europeans came over, then they were moving and progressing further north and further east. So by about 1630s, they were up in there and they would have been pushing the natives off the land. So what took place between them, we can't really find those records because, Sherman and his scorched earth policy during Civil War took out most of the records. So I can't find much for history in that time frame.
Gotcha. I've had a couple people come to me and tell me that they've experienced apparitions in some form of war paint
on the property.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. I mean, Ryan and I have, on numerous occasions, we've heard for lack of better terms, we've heard the war drums playing out there.
Yeah, I didn't want to be the one to say it. Kim was, I'm glad you commented that. Kim was one of them. She said last time she was there, she saw a warrior in the woods with Cherokee face paint, clear as day. We had a team member that made reports of a watchman. And I believe, I wish Carrie was in the chat right now, but something about white face paint, I think. Was it white? I think it was white face paint. And I'm not 100% versed in the different tribes. Yes, Kim. I'm not versed in the different tribes here in Virginia like I would say where I grew up in Arizona. But here, I always like to hear of the different Native American attachment to each property.
Yeah. And
because I think that those roots run very deep. Can you hear us?
They do. You're back. So there was we have Mattaponi, Pamunkey, Powhatan, obviously, Mattaponi, Pamunkey. And there's another one I'm trying to think, but they were prevalent in this area. And, they were obviously just pushed off the land when the settlers started taking it. There's a property not far from us that was like 2,500 acres, was a land grant from King. Upper Mattaponi is up in there as well. You're right, Lois. So there were so many different tribes that were right around us. To narrow down who was on our specific little dot
would be impossible.
Almost impossible.
Yeah.
But
for sure,
knowing that most of them, I mean, even Opequacano, she was from the Mattaponi tribe, and that was part of her land. Which she was one of the rare female chiefs to have a chiefdom, but even she was under the Powhatan rule. So it makes it very difficult to say, okay, this tribe had that part of land. A huge part of it, they were just overlapping. Now, James, I do not know. We suspect, and and I have very strong reason for this suspect. We have numerous psychics, and I think even Kim pointed out that she believes there were burials on the site. But we have 7.2 acres in the middle of nothing, that in the middle of it, we have this huge plot of yucca plants. And yucca root was believed to be rebirth and growth amongst the Powhatan Nation. And they would roll your body over if you died in battle. They would throw yucca root on you and then roll you right back where you fell and bury you on the battlefield. But they would carry yucca root with them, like the Union carried tea. You know, the Union had stopped for a tea break, and the natives would have yucca root tea. But we do know of 5 Confederate companies that had natives fight alongside them. So it's a very good likelihood that we have burials on the property. Yucca plant is not native to Virginia, but in the middle of the 7-acre plot of land, we have a rather large plot of yucca root. Yucca. So it's suspected that there are burials.
Was there any ties by chance to maybe a plantation or a farmland where maybe like slavery might have taken place? And the reason I'm asking is because
Yes,
I know. Do what?
I was telling Kim, yes.
Oh, sorry. The reason I was asking is when you are in the woods, you will see random, rather large stones just kind of like in random places. And I know that was like a big thing when they would bury slaves. They would just mark them with like a stone of some sort.
So I got online and I found a place called Vintage Aerial Photographs. And from 1983, I found a photograph that shows the majority of our back portion of land was all under farm. There was a maybe 100-foot wide strip of trees that went down, and maybe 100-foot deep trees that went down. Everything else was all farm. So if there were large stones, they've already been disturbed. But I think straight across from us, straight across from 360, was a plantation, or is a plantation home. So it's very possible that, I mean, if we go on their norm, you know, this is their plot of land. The house sits here at the furthest point away from the house. You know, the big house would be the slave quarters or the slave burials. But I can't find anything that truly tells me that.
Oh, that's interesting. Kim said that cedar is also
trees planted. The portal.
Yeah, those 2 trees side by side. Yep.
That's interesting. But yeah, there's a lot of cedar trees through that property, and there are 2 large cedar trees right side by side in the middle that we refer to as the portal because it just looks kind of cool. We
Right.
sort of walked the path through there, and all of a sudden we realized, man, there's these 2 big ass cedar trees we're walking through. It looks like a portal. So I'm waiting on like Gandalf to be on the other side one of the days. Land being distributed via cost of some of the unexplained paranormal activity. I mean, it very well could be, Ronnie. We don't know what all has caused. Yeah, next time you come down, Kim, I'll show you the portal trees. But we don't know what all has caused so much activity on this property. I mean, if it gives you any indication, there's 3 times on this property I've drawn my weapon against full body, solid figures that just vanish.
Now, Dennis, I know that everybody wants to go straight to the rancher because that's where the gruesome crime
That's the majority
happened.
of the stories.
But you told me a story about a husband and a wife that maybe had a home that was, you know, supposed to be taken over by some kind of army forces.
Yeah, it was ransacked by the Union soldiers. That was the Curry family. So I did I looked at an 1864 Confederate engineers map, and where our two structures are, it looks like the Curry family sat about half of the log cabin to about halfway to the brick rancher. And it just says Curry. So it doesn't give them a name or anything, but they are mentioned in a journal entry from a lieutenant colonel up at the Villa House. He says, this morning along came a most peculiar couple, the Currys. They've come seeking their reparations for damages done to their home as our troops progressed. Mr. Curry, a flabby, mostly retired-looking gentleman, and Mrs. Curry, a tawdrily dressed woman with a spiteful, biting tongue, have asked for reparations, claiming that our troops gutted their home on our progression to Cold Harbor. Then she is quoted as saying, at the beginning of this godforsaken war, I wish nothing but the best for the Union Army and her endeavors. Now I wish sweet Mother Earth would open up and swallow them whole, myself included. So her home sat right where the log cabin is, and within 30 feet is about what I can estimate. So what I do, I take a modern day Google map and I find resources, and a great resource for it is National Archives. And I found a map from that era. Well, I found an 1864 engineer's map that I do a 30% overlay on, and then I can place it on top of a modern day Google map. And you try to line up tree lines or roadways or something that can give you orientation on that map that hasn't changed from then till now. Now, Route 360 has obviously grown, but it's always been a roadway. Walnut Grove Road has obviously changed a little bit, but it was there then. The Confederates were told to maintain that crossroads at all costs. So that intersection was always there. So I was able to do that overlay map and find out that the Curry family home sat right about where the log cabin is. And we've actually run EVPs where we ask Mr. Curry if Mrs. Curry is with him, and you hear her say, yes, I am.
I was just about to say, you've encountered these Currys not in the rancher.
No, they were in the log cabin. But
So,
it makes me suspect that if their home was, if the log cabin sits on portion of their home to partway to the brick rancher, then do they recognize the log cabin, or do they recognize that's where their home is? So
that's a really good question, and I want to touch on that really quick, but I want to pause for a second. Ryan, I know you've got to go. You've got to get ready for the freaking awesome paranormal show and Lost Souls at 9 p.m. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate everything that you guys have been doing with the cabin, and we will see you in approximately 10 minutes.
Hopefully see you soon at your location, your cemetery.
Yeah, come on down. We host Publix at Old City Cemetery here in Lynchburg, Virginia. Right now, we're doing them about once a month. The month of October, we host them every Friday. We're hoping to set one up very shortly, but this weekend, we will actually be in Gettysburg. We're hosting 2 public events at the historic Rainworth Lodge.
That's awesome.
Friday and Saturday. There are still tickets available if anybody's interested in coming up for Remembrance Day. It's a great time. Historic Rainworth Lodge is also extremely active. It's also a log cabin.
Very cool. All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good night.
Right. Good to see you, brother.
See you later, Ryan.
So, but I want to kind of go back to what you were saying really quick. I know we're running out of time, but like I was saying, everybody wants to load their gear into the base point, aka the log cabin, and then run straight to the rancher. Guys, this is 2 homes and 6 acres of activity, 7 acres of activity all over the entirety of the property. Dennis, I don't know if you're comfortable, but I know you've had several personal experiences in the log cabin itself. Do you want to share those? Do you mind? Or
Oh, I don't mind at all. So about 8 years ago, we did a toy drive, and we've done it annually, and we've got one coming up December 7. Ticket price is $20 plus a toy donation. Goes to Toys for Tots. But our first one was for Henrico Christmas Mother, and at the end of the night, and this was when I still drank. I don't drink anymore. But end of the night, I was exhausted. It's like 2 in the morning. I'm like, screw it. I've had a few beers. I'm not driving home. I took my weapon off. I laid it up on my shoulder, plugged my phone in. I've got Pandora going. I slid into my sleeping bag in the loft. And I woke up when the music stopped. And as I'm wiping my eyes, trying to clear the cobwebs, standing at my feet was an older man with his arms across his chest, just staring down at me. I learned 2 very valuable lessons that moment. One, and ladies and gentlemen, take notes on this. If you're going to sleep in a sleeping bag in a haunted location, don't zip that son of a bitch up. You can't get fast enough out of it. 2, make sure you go poo-poo before you slide into a sleeping bag if you choose to zip it because you don't shit in it. And the other valuable lesson is make sure you know exactly where your weapon's at, because in the moments that I am reaching around, locked eyes with him, and I'm doing this, going, where the fuck is my weapon? And then I turned my head for that brief moment, grabbed my weapon, and shook out of the holster. He vanished. Now, there was a young lady that attempted suicide in the log cabin 15 or so years ago. She described an old man standing beside her. She had slit both of her wrists. She said she was sitting in her desk chair, had already slit both of her wrists, was just letting the blood run. She said, I remember standing over here by the hearth, about 10 feet from where she pointed out her desk chair was. As I'm standing there, I'm looking at my body in the chair. I can see a pool of blood on both sides. And this old man walked up beside me and an old woman beside him. She said, we looked at each other. We looked back at my body. I turned and looked back at him. And he just slowly shook his head and said, you know, it's not your time. You're not ready. You have to go back now. Her description of that old man and the old man that was standing at my feet matched. But she did not pass away, by the way, obviously. She was there to tell us her story. But she had called her best friend on the way out there. It was at like 4 a.m. and told her best friend that I'm in a bit of a dark place. I'm going to the cabin to clear my head and get my shit together. And turned off her phone. Didn't finish the conversation, didn't end the call, just hung it up and turned her phone off. So her best friend called authorities and asked for a welfare check when she couldn't reach her. And when they found her, she had a heart rate of 42. So she literally sat in the main room there and had a near-death experience. And if it hadn't been for the paramedics, she would have passed. So we do have some near tragedy in the log cabin. We don't know how many soldiers died immediately on or right around that land. We do know that our relic hunters have found cannonball shrapnel, which the Union had cannons aimed at that piece of property. The Confederates had 6 cannons lined up just across the road from it. So it's one of those places where you can go, well, how many died? I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, there's no telling. We do know the young lady was raped and murdered in the brick rancher next door. Her body thrown out the window. The news reports, the news articles are there to point that out. I have personally interviewed the deputies that were on scene that day, Captain Nelson and Lieutenant. Damn it, I always forget it. I can't remember the lieutenant's name, and I just ran into him the other day too. But you know, the property, it is such an unassuming property. It's like driving by grandma's house in the middle of the block and going, I wonder if it's haunted.
Well, the rancher was like an insurance company at one point. State Farm or something?
A brief point. Farmers Insurance was
Farmers. I knew it was farm something. You know what I'm saying?
Farmers-
So Ronnie said, you're getting old, Dennis.
Hey, Ronnie, You're still number one in my book, though.
No, you got to hold up the little hands, Dennis. You got to do it with the
Okay.
little hands.
Ronnie,
Those two are for you, Ronnie.
But
But yes, you guys.
Farmers Insurance had signed a lease for 2 years and left in 10 months, and we have no idea why. Just packed their shit and left.
There's it's funny that you said in the beginning that you always walk in and pop in and say hello, sweetheart, because for some reason I had no idea that's what you said. And the last time I was in there, I walked in and I walked into her room. I said, hi, sweetheart. And I don't even call kids that. Like, I just would, that's not something I would say. I just remember saying hello, sweetheart. And I remember I had my stepdaughter with me and she was like, sweetheart, that's like not even you. Normally you're like a hun or something like that, but sweetheart. And I was like, I don't know. It's, that's what I wanted to call her. But
I think it's what she's gotten used to. So she kind of talked to you a little bit and let you know that's what I expect.
I really think that she likes the company. The very first time that we went there, the feeling that I got in that room is that she really has a lot to say, but there's something that's holding her back.
I agree with that statement.
Well, if you go back and look at, God, what the hell so Dave Spinks was doing a original shack hack. He was sitting on the hearth right in front of the fireplace in the log cabin. And he kept trying to ask, is there a little girl here? And we kept hearing a little girl try to talk. And then you would hear this, hush.
Yes.
Quiet. Well, Dave finally goes, look, you shut the fuck up and let her talk. And he starts to say something else. And then he just instantly does one of these, oh, and he grabs his gut and doubles over and goes outside, leans over the railing, and he is dry heaving. Well, Sean Austin and I are sitting in there. I'm holding Dave's phone to do his YouTube live. Sean Austin is doing Periscope live, and we're both looking at each other like, what the fuck's going on? I'm like, Dave, you all right? He's like, ugh. Next thing you hear is the Shack Hack mimicking him, and all you hear on Shack Hack is, like, holy shit, Dave, it's mocking you.
Oh my God.
I think there may be something that for lack of better terms, throttles her response.
Yeah.
But like you pointed out, it doesn't always feel that same energy. So I'm wondering if what's there kind of comes and goes. Sean, I think it was the 6'3" old man that stepped up on you in the living room. Did the same thing to me. I don't think he is the one that's keeping her quieted. I think it's the other darker, malevolent energy.
Even though it scared the shit out of me, I don't think it was evil.
No, I think he's just an asshole.
Yeah. It startled me because I didn't know it was there. If I walked in there and seen it, like when I first got in there, it had been a different experience. But to not see it and then turn around and he's right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll startle anybody, first of all.
Right there.
But that was a weird experience there. The voice, and then I had the bell. My dead bell, the way it operates, it's electronic, and it will ding on its own from time to time. So the single dings, I ignore them. I don't pay attention to them. So if I can ask it to ring it more than once, which thanks to Rhonda Harris, she taught me how to use it. I did get that response a couple times. I can't remember what kind. I believe actually the question just popped in my head. I asked, "Do you want me to leave?" And if you want me to leave, can you ring that bell 3 times? And sure enough, that bell went ding, ding, ding right then and there. And I believe I sent that video to Ryan actually when we got that one. But that was in the cabin actually. That was right
the log cabin. Yeah.
That was right upstairs. So I mean, we got some interesting stuff. A lot of interesting stuff. The biggest thing, again, with me with the cabin. And with me with any location is when you hear the rumors. I don't really look for the rumors, but when you hear, I don't like to call them rumors. When you hear I need a better word for that. When you hear what people say happens,
Yeah,
and then
it's stories.
right, when you hear the ghost stories, and then but I never actually get those ghost stories. But then when you actually get them, and then of course with me being a black dude, the spirit box, I've heard that they
Wait. It's not just my screen fucking up here. Seriously, black bro.
Yeah, adjust.
Stop.
Adjust
You're welcome.
your heat a little bit.
Y'all gonna kill me.
So when you hear like the teams say that there's something evil in the basement, there's something mean down there. Me, I challenge it. And when I challenged it, that people say you hear demonic names come through. We got the demonic name coming through. Of course, I got called the N-word several times that night.
I got called a bitch that night.
So when you're getting that along with what people are saying, in my opinion, that's concrete.
But that's the same night that Rhonda got scratched, and then whatever was in that basement really was trying very hard to communicate with our 16-year-old team member.
Yeah.
I mean, every time she would say, okay, I'm going to touch the ball and make it light up. We had a cat ball in the middle of the basement, and we were all in a circle in the chairs. And she sat on the floor, and she said, I'm going to make it light up. When it cuts off, it's your turn. And she would move it, make it light up. And when it would cut off, something would touch it and make it light up. And then when it went on, this went on. She did this like 3 or 4 times. But luckily for us, she's a strong-willed kid. You know what I'm saying? And I call her a kid. I know, 16-year-olds get mad about that. So now if you're watching, yes, you're still a kid to us.
Yeah, but Christ, you're, old enough to be her mommy. I'm old enough to be her grandpa damn near. But it's funny that you mentioned you got called the N-word, Sean, because the group that was there this Saturday, the young man that got scratched was mixed. And they said they had the N-word come back on Estes like twice. But I don't remember any other team, and especially, as well as I do, there's not a whole lot of black folk that play in this fucking field.
Yeah.
I don't recall other teams really where it stands out in my head that they get the N-word.
Well, that's why I said, in my opinion, how do you debunk that?
I mean, it's not like it's, every team that comes in, the spirit box or this app or that app is spitting out the N-word, because it's not normal.
Well, let's take it a step further. So when the spirit box was being mean to Courtney, I was like, okay, let's play. You want to play? Let's play. It told me to leave. And I said, why? And it said, because you're black. That's
quote unquote.
Quote. This is a quote. It's not me interpreting. This is a quote. And again, I've got 6 people with me. We can get them on here on a podcast if anybody thinks I'm lying about it. Plus, I got it on video. So it says, because you're black. And I was like, oh, yeah, because I'm black. And then that's when the N-word just started firing off more than once.
It does not.
So so we're going back and forth. It's almost like a heated. They thought I was getting mad, but really I was, at this point, I'm antagonized a little bit. And that's when Rhonda got scratched. And at that point,
not Rhonda Harris. We had a team.
Yeah, we have a team member named Rhonda. That's when she got scratched, and that's when I cut it off.
All right. So my thought was, had you not cut it off, were you the only male down there?
Was who there?
Yeah, no, yeah, yes, no. Chuck was there.
Okay.
Was Chuck there?
Yeah.
No, he was not. He was asleep.
Yeah, Chuck was outside the car
yes,
asleep.
Dennis. Chuck was in the Jeep asleep. Okay. Sean was the only male down there.
Okay. So when she got scratched, Sean, did you take her outside?
No,
she got I stayed in the basement by myself. Well, Nye was down there with me because I was looking for my phone.
I ran out behind her.
Okay, so my thought was, it's going to do something to get you out. We had a group of 5 ladies and 4 gentlemen down there one night. And one thing odd after another kept happening. And then finally the ladies are like, you do realize it has pulled out every male from this basement.
Huh.
We women are alone right now. And I
We'll
hadn't
have to
even
put
thought
that to
about
the
it.
test.
I mean, it was stupid shit. Like something went on next door that I had to go check out. And then something else, like Ryan got a phone call. The one dude's car alarm starts going off. His keys are in his case in the cabin. And it's doing the panic alarm on his car alarm. I forget what the other one was, but the next thing you know, all 4 of us men are pulled out somehow, some way, and all that was left down there were females.
See, and we chalked it up to a lot of the time in historical locations, especially like pre-Civil War, when we're together.
Yeah.
We do get a lot of that bullying going on. Him being black, me being white, interracial, like it's not okay. But this particular night, it seemed to just, I mean, I got called a bitch. And like, I don't antagonize at all. Like, you know, even if I know it's an evil spirit, I'm still going to ask you to please, you know, give me a sign that you're here. Please, thank you. Things like that. You know, I always try to, but I mean, that particular night, I did pull out of character slightly and actually asked it, like, why are you being a bully? Like, why do you think that you can talk to us any kind of way? You know, obviously we didn't get, I think that's when we got bitch across the spirit box after I asked that. But I mean, we just kind of chalked it up to that. But, you know, I remember very distinctly when we went on our tour. I can't remember if it was you or Ryan that gave us our first tour.
Ryan.
Was it Ryan?
We didn't meet Dennis on our first tour.
That's right. We met him on the second, right? No, we met him at Belle Grove.
Yeah, we met Dennis at Belle Grove, I think.
Yeah, you met me at Belle Grove.
Yeah. So when Ryan first gave us our tour, he said that there had been reports of people like getting out of character, like getting, you know, unusually irrational, angry, and things like that. So when you notice those signs, you need to go ahead and like take a break, step out, whatever. So when Sean was going back and forth with this entity on the spirit box, yes, we did think that Sean was getting pulled out of character and getting angry. We did take, I remember your advice that was given when I booked. All weapons were left off of the persons just because of, you know, particular feelings that you might need to just kill everybody in the room. And things like that. So we took all of the advice that was given to us when we first booked the cabin. And come to find out, Sean actually got angry because I told him he was getting angry. He's like, I'm not angry. And
because I wasn't really angry, but I felt like if you're going to challenge me through the spirit box, let's go. I wasn't being rude. I wasn't Zach Baggins and cussing at it or nothing. I was like trying to really figure out what's going on. I mean, and that's when it was really telling me, get out because you're black, N-word, like over and over and over. And I was like, okay.
Well, it's crazy because the second time when we went down and we weren't feeling any of the negativity, I opened up that basement door. And, you know, have you ever heard that TikTok where the kid goes, hello, motherfucker?
Mm-hmm.
So I opened up the basement door and that's what I said. Like in that voice, I was like, hello, motherfucker. And like, it was just calm down there that particular night. But I would love to come back again, just solely because, you know, the last time we were there, like I said, I mean, that was so cool to hear the voice singing. And then across the spirit box, it was almost an emotional help me. I don't really know how to describe it. It was like,
it was as if somebody were dying.
Yeah. I hate to say it like that, but it was literally, if I was being brutally murdered, I feel like that's how I would have sounded. And it caused a lot of emotion for a few of us, you know, I mean, I was like, I'm a mom. If you're a mom and you go in there, like immediately you're emotional anyway, because this is somebody's 12-year-old child.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And to hear that yell, that helped me come across the spirit box in a young girl's voice
It was more than once.
was very emotional.
Well, I will tell you this. There has been a phone call between Randy and another individual that I trust. I take him at his word. He asked Randy point blank, "Did you do it?" And Randy's answer was, "Even though I stand here a convicted man today, I wasn't there that day. That fucking house should have been burned down years ago." I think in that one simple statement, he's admitting and he's alluding to the fact that there is something about the house that caused that situation. So, are you allowed to go live from the cabin on 360? I encourage you to. I implore you to. I am paying dearly
Michelle.
for the best Wi-Fi and internet package I can afford, so you can go live from there. So yes, Ronnie, you can go live. Hi, Michelle. But yeah, so my plan is, all right, I love watching the teams investigate, whether I'm with them or not. And I love watching them do it live, even though there's a lot of that downtime in between. But I learned from them. And I wanted teams to be able to go live from the cabin. At some point in time, I'm going to have a camera system set up between the two buildings where I can do subscribers and you can monitor cameras 24/7. And you can also buy your footage from your time of investigating there. Because a lot of teams don't have a buttload of cameras, but all of a sudden you got 12 4K cameras with audio that are watching your investigation. You can go back and review afterwards.
Oh God! Can you cut those off when we come up there?
Maybe.
Sean farts way too much on investigations.
Yeah, it costs an extra to turn them off.
I do.
Our conversations are not always appropriate, y'all. Don't subscribe when we go.
But yeah, the cameras aren't there yet. I have to get a few bookings. I've got to make some money. I got to try to recoup what I've invested so far. So, like, one of the first things that I did, I had to rebuild the front steps. I still have to rebuild the handicap ramps on both buildings.
Did you get that bottom stair?
Oh, the front steps are completely rebuilt. They're brand new.
Ronnie said farting is a part of investigating.
I've got a portion of floor in the back room downstairs in the cabin I have to tear out and rebuild because the well system pressure tank sprung a leak. So the floor is buckled badly. There's several thousands of dollars that I have to put into the buildings. I've already put a couple of thousand in. And
yes, James.
It just is what it is. It's going to be a slow progress. I was talking to Robin Terry earlier from Ashmore Estates, and he said the first year that he had Ashmore, he thinks he spent $75,000 in repairs and upgrades.
Oh, God. Speaking of Ashmore, somebody just started a whole rumor on Facebook about Ashmore.
A whole bunch of shit. But what he's talking about,
what the hell is wrong with people?
Well, what that little douchebag's talking about is 4 years old. And apparently he was becoming irrelevant, so he decided he needs a little 15 minutes of notoriety, and he got it. Now,
he got a whole bunch of teams jumping his ass.
Well, yeah, that's what he got. But you know what else it got? It got 15 calls to Robin today about booking Ashmore. He has, I think he said, just a couple of Fridays available for the rest of the year and no Saturdays available for the rest of the year. It got him 50 friend requests. So, I don't know. People are going to be dicks no matter what. They want
Yep.
their 15 minutes of fame. And I know going into this, as the owner of a location, I'm going to make this claim or that claim. And somebody somewhere is going to go, you know what? I was there and I didn't experience that. I think you're full of shit. The place isn't haunted. Well, I mean, we posted a thing a while back and some woman commented on it. It was like in the Mechanicsville Trading Post or something. And she's like, I remember buying dolls back when it was a doll shop in the 80s or whatever. I never felt or saw anything. It's not haunted. It only became
Well,
haunted.
you were in there
when
for
these
10 freaking minutes buying a damn
Yeah.
doll.
Well, here's the funny part. She says it only became haunted when these two guys from nowhere moved here and said it was haunted.
Okay.
So me being the genius I am, I went, so the grandson of the man that built the cabin and bought the land in 1978 and me living here for 30 years are the two guys that just moved here and say it's haunted? No, sweetheart. I'm glad your 10 minutes of visit there didn't garner anything versus my hundreds of hours of investigation. Congratulations, you cracked the case.
Lord. There's always going to be somebody that doubts somebody. It is what it is. You know, hell, we've had evidence from the cabin that we were accused of faking. You know, none of the evidence that we have from the cabin has been faked. It doesn't. It's too interactive, especially like you said in the beginning, after that 1 a.m. mark, things start really ramping up. You know, I don't know if that's the spirit sleep schedule. Like maybe they're just waking up. I don't know. You know, but that's when it gets most active. It is very slow until like about 1 a.m. and then things start ramping up.
Well, I can't say that I agree with that because Forgotten Explorations, their first visit out there, just during the tour, his comment was, "This is the busiest fucking place we've ever been, and this is only the tour. What the hell's going to happen next?"
Yeah.
And it's
spirits don't have a watch on.
You know, he said we've had more activity here during the tour and the history than we've had at some locations overnight.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean that, you know, when Ronnie comes in December or at some point in time when James and his team come out, that it's going to be that same way.
Yeah.
You know, Lost Souls Paranormal, Larry and Sarah Snyder have been there. I think they've rented the property for full weekends like 6 times now. And they said there are times that it's very calm and there's other times that it's off the chain. So, you know, don't ever, 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 and this goes for any location, not just the cabin, don't ever think that your one visit to the location is enough for you to be able to garner an opinion on whether that location is active or not. Maybe there's something with you, or there's something about your energy that day. You found out your dog died that morning, your cat got ran over, you were backing out the driveway. Something about you might be off, and the spirits are like, I'm not fucking with that cat today. He just doesn't seem like he's right.
Oh yeah. I can 100% attest to that. I mean, we went to the Exchange Hotel. Everybody I've ever spoke to that's ever been to the Exchange Hotel has said it's extremely haunted. There's all kind of activity. This goes on, that goes on, whatever. Beginning of the investigation, I was in shitty mood. Like, I'm not going to lie, my energy was off. And I didn't get a whole lot of activity. It wasn't until I went outside, fixed my face and my attitude, and said a little like self-help prayer that we went back in, and then it was like a complete 360. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, if I'm a spirit, I don't want to mess with people that are clouded in negativity in real life. What makes you think that if I was to pass on today and somebody is coming in grumbling and, you know, I don't believe in this shit. I don't, you know, whatever. Like, I'm not going to want to interact with you either. I don't know. If somebody said they didn't believe in this shit, I might definitely make them believe.
I'm throwing shit at them. I'm doing all kinds
I'm aiming for their grape. I'm going to pop them right in the grape with something.
But you know what I mean? I mean, I try to avoid negative people in my actual living life. I feel like in my spiritual life, I definitely will avoid negative people. So yes, your energy does absolutely make it or break it at a haunted location. And we experience that on our Publix at the cemetery. I mean, if we get a large group of people and even one person's energy is off, you know, it almost like ruins the whole investigation. Like we have some resident spirits that show up and show out. Anybody that's ever been to our location that we host here can attest to this. We've got several resident spirits that love to interact with every bell and whistle you bring to the table. But if you are in a shitty mood, like they are not messing with you. Like they're not.
They don't care. And, you know, Ronnie's got a very valid point. Sorry, I have a very strong Coke addiction.
Oh, yeah? That's red, not white.
Yeah, that's number 2 during this show. But Ronnie's got a very valid point. The sun and moon, I think there is a little bit of a correlation to lunar cycle that interacts and makes them or gives them more energy to interact. But I think for the most part, it's us.
Yeah.
You know, it's simply us. I mean, you've met people that go, "Hi, I'm John," and you look at them and go, "Hi, I'm Courtney." Fuck off.
Yeah, that sounds like me. Oh, wait.
We all do it. We all do it. We just have that inner feeling that says, I just don't want to talk to this person.
I just don't like you.
Yeah. And I think spirit does the same exact thing. So I'm not real sure what Ronnie is trying to say. We've learned the Psalm and Moon control activity. Activity doesn't work on our schedule. Wait, the sun
Then he
and
said the
moon
sun and moon doesn't control activity.
Forgive me, I'm blind in one eye at the moment.
Ronnie, who punched you in the eye?
It was a bad squirt.
Well,
Was
guys,
that out loud?
you know, for all
Sorry,
those
Ron,
that are
I told
still
you to.
tuned in, I want you to do me a favor. Go to the newly revamped Cabin on the 360 Facebook page. Go to the 3 little dots up top and hit invite friends and just hit invite all. Okay. That is literally a free way to support a location. Free.
Man,
Okay.
I appreciate the hell out of it too.
You know, let's bring some people over to the cabin. Dennis, I'll get with you. I definitely want to book a date in 2025. We're working on that schedule now. Actually, after this weekend, we're having a conversation with our team and we're working on our schedule. Diabetes hit me in the eye. Ronnie, it's going to get you every time. We know somebody right now. Don't let me, you know what? I'll give you a lecture outside of this podcast on diabetes. James, I agree with you. Dennis, we do affect the location with what we bring. Yes. James, book your location or book your team, Cabin on 360. I'm going to do the same. I would like to come back another time. I have that's a location that you leave there with unanswered questions. And those are always the locations in which I like to book back because, you know, I want to know. I want to know the answers. You know, you're forever seeking answers. And that's what the paranormal field is about. It is seeking answers to questions. But I want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for tuning in. If you haven't booked at the Cabin on the 360, definitely do some. Next time I talk to Dennis, I want to hear I only have a few Saturdays left. I only have a few Fridays left. That's definitely, you know, what we want to hear and the goal that we want to hear. And if you guys want to go ahead and make it a dual weekend, book at the Cabin on Friday and come on down to Lynchburg on Saturday, hit us up. You can book our location, Old City Cemetery here in Lynchburg, Virginia. There are 5 buildings on the property and we would love to have you guys. But I really appreciate everybody that tunes in. And Dennis, thank you for taking over the Cabin and you know keeping history alive.
and I'm trying my best, and I'm not one to ask for much from anybody, but if this community supports the cabin and keeps the bills paid, I can keep this thing up and running. But for free, December 11, guys, come out and join me. My band of volunteers from 6 to 10 on December 11th. I'm doing an open house. It's free. I'm going to have some drinks and snacks, and we're going to give little tours, and I'm going to have the fire pit going, and we're going to tell some ghost stories. But I just want to be able to showcase the location and go, man, this is why my heart's here so much.
What's the
This
date
is
for the
why.
open house?
December 11.
That's a Wednesday.
It is.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I chose a Wednesday because it's kind of middle of the week. Most people don't have much going on, but that's also why I did 6 to 10. I kind of wanted the locals to come out and support the property and support the location. And I wanted to introduce us because I want to work with and the community. I mean, Ryan and I have done some amazing charity events out there. There was a young lady named Sawyer Perkins, and she had brain cancer. She passed away Saturday at age 10. But we did 3 charity events for her and her family right there in Mechanicsville. John Wells, that owns Oddballs Antiques and Collectibles, when he was first diagnosed with colon cancer, we stepped up. We did an event. We raised money for him. I kept nothing. The cabin kept nothing. And I want to be able to do those things, but I have to have bookings. And like I said, Robin and I from Ashmore were talking tonight. If I have X many bookings and my bills are paid, then I can afford to do these things that benefit the community and benefit the citizens around us. Plus, then I can afford to get the handicap ramps rebuilt, and I can afford to put the new flooring down and get rid of the trip hazard shit that's there. But I have to have those bookings. I have to look at expense and overhead first. So if y'all will help me keep this thing booked, we're going to do some amazing shit, and we can show the community that the paranormal field cares, and we can give back.
That's right. And if you're in here and you're listening and you're a flooring expert or a handicap ramp builder and you want to donate your time, hit up Dennis Eslock. That would also help.
I would much rather at this point, rather have a WordPress professional because I got my website is all fucked up and I can't.
If you build websites.
If you build websites, we could also use your help.
I need WordPress.
Believe it or not, Dennis, I know a girl who builds websites. I do know one.
If she is very proficient with WordPress, by all means, ever give me a call. Because
I will ask.
I almost dropped a 9mm round through my monitor over this son of a bitch.
Great day. Don't do that now, because then we'll have to find somebody to donate a monitor. Okay?
I have extras. But, yeah, Ronnie, trust me, I'm trying to get my shit together for
Thank you, Daryl.
And man, Daryl, I appreciate the help, brother. Anybody
That's another location if anybody wants to investigate. James, Clover Hill Village, and Appomattox, another good one. Let's try to keep light on Central Virginia. Central Virginia is where it's at, y'all. Yes, traveling's fun. Sure. Great. Love a good road trip. But there's some phenomenal locations right here in Central Virginia.
Most definitely. And so Ryan and I have been at it for 8 years. And we've been pushing the cabin on 360 for 8 years. Ashmore Estates, Robin, had never heard of us. Like, what the fuck? I thought this community was the community of, man, we were here and we were there and we did this and we did that. Apparently, they're really hush-hush about where they've been because Ashmore Estates gets a ton of visitors. And, Daryl, I hate to say it, brother, but I'm not familiar with Clover Hill Estates or Clover Hill. I'll have to check that one out.
Oh yeah, you'll like it if you like
From
history.
this point moving forward, we're going to change the Pair Unity, and we're going to grow all of the
Hashtag.
everywhere. We're gonna grow
That's my hashtag.
We're going to grow everybody's establishment moving forward.
You know what? I think I'm going to create a list of Central Virginia locations, and I'm going to push the list. Hashtag Paraunity.
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to start putting together a list, and we're going to get all of the Central Virginia.
Yep.
Well, get John Stevens from Virginia Paranormal Events Facebook page on your site, on your show.
Yeah, I follow it.
John does wonderful work, and he's just an absolute sweetheart.
The only problem with getting people, a lot of people recommend us to people. We'll reach out to them, and they'll never respond to it. So, like, talk to these people as well and say, hey, get them on Hill City Paranormal. Together, we can make this community a lot stronger.
All right. I will have John Stevens
people
reach out
recommend
to
people
you.
to us all the time, and we'll reach out to them, and they won't respond.
Or they'll book and they won't show.
Yeah, so like, as a unity, if we all work together, we can definitely grow this. I'm a firm believer that from now all through 2025, if we all work together, we can blow this whole thing up.
Let's do it. Hashtag Paraunity.
Pair Unity will be in full effect.
That's right.
I mean,
Anyway, guys, if you don't like it already, Ronnie said Virginia is one of the most haunted states in the country, second to Gettysburg. Yes. Amen. Amen. Anyway, you guys, we're running out of time now. I got cold medicine I got to go take. Head on over the Cabin on 360. Give the page a like if you don't already like it. Share it out. Like I said, hit those three little dots, hit invite friends, invite all, and bam, you just slammed out 1,000 invites. That's a free way to support both Cabin on 360, Hill City Paranormal, Bedford Paranormal, and everybody else that's in here, Fredericksburg Paranormal, Spirit Led Paranormal. And if I missed anybody, I'm sorry. But everybody that's in here, just go like each other's page, hashtag Paraunity. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. Dennis, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us.
We'll have you back.
Next time I see you, I'll bring you some Coke, the can kind. There you go. We are not sponsored, by the way. We should be.
I should be.
That's right. But until next Tuesday, guys, next Tuesday, we've got Olivia James, part 2, for those that tuned in. Olivia James was raised up in MK Ultra. Very interesting stuff. So definitely tune in next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you guys are bored, looking for something to do, we will be in Gettysburg all weekend at the historic Rainworth Lodge, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. Public investigations. Tickets are available online. Ronnie said you need some beauty rest, Dennis.
Ronnie, I still love you, man. You still number one in my book, brother.
But until next time,
Oh,
we'll
wait,
see
wait.
you.
What, Ronnie? I couldn't see what you said.
Diabetes.
Diabetes got me in the eye.
Until next time, guys, we'll see you on the other side.